Thank you for staying on. It's still Breakfast Live on GTV. There's a huge debate about what the best fish is in the studio. And I just remembered a very great saying that a man I respect so much told me, that he doesn't eat any fish fishermen don't eat. Because there's some basic fish you just can't be bothered to eat if you're a fisherman. So let me know what your thoughts are. What's the best fish you've ever had? We'll put that question on our social media handles. And if you're not following GTV Ghana, you may be missing out on a very interesting conversation where we asked you to ask some questions, any question at all that you have about the TV license fee, and we would answer them for you. If you're not following us, follow us on GTV Ghana. The answers to some of your burning questions will be dropping sooner than you think, and invite other people to follow us as well so that we all get the answers together. We are working to get 1 million followers by December, and you should join the fray across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are even on TikTok, GTV Ghana, everywhere. So this morning we are having a chat about the close fishing season. Fish is important. The Ghana Statistical Service 2002 estimates that about 2 million people are dependent on the fisheries sector for their livelihoods. More specific estimates account for 110,000 small-scale fishers in the marine sector, with at least as many people, mostly women, being involved in processing, marketing and ancillary activities. In spite of the significant contribution of the fisheries sector, overexploitation continues to threaten the productivity and sustainability of the country's fishery. And as part of measures to regenerate and sustainably manage Ghana's fast depleting fish stock, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, MOFAD, and the Fisheries Commission, FCE, implemented the close fishing season for all artisanal and semi-industrial and industrial trawl. The implementation of the close fishing season began in 2016. And it had the following objectives, among others: to reduce overfishing and high fishing pressure, and to recover overexploited fish stocks and rebuild depleted fish stock. There are other objectives which include to replenish dwindling the fish stock. And so we are asking a question: what is the outlook for the 2023 season, which is just about to start? And what lessons can we learn from the season of 2022? At the table this morning, the Honorable Deputy Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mr. Moses Senim, is at the table. Honorable, thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
And he's here with Professor Francis Nunu, the board chairman of the Fisheries Commission. Prof, thank you also for being a part of our conversation this morning. We're just getting into what the best fish is. Other two panel members from the other segment talked about tilapia. Is that the best fish there is? And do you have another favorite?
Well, my favorite is the catfish.
Okay, why is that?
Because it tastes good, the smoked one and the fresh ones. And we want to encourage Ghanaians to begin to develop the organoleptic for the fresh catfish. Basically, it has also some economic reasons. Why? Because of our challenge in depletion of the marine stock. And we think that the most viable alternative is aquaculture. And the catfish is a bit handy and simple to culture, not too difficult like that of the tilapia. So strategically, we think that when the Ghanaian developed the organoleptic for the catfish,
organoleptic.
Well, let me use the word taste. Maybe taste the taste for the catfish, and especially the fresh ones. And then its derivative in terms of smoke or other value addition. It will help us the more reduce the importation, because where we are today, the countries that will survive are those that will increase their import substitutions. What I mean is that you reduce importation. And as much as we import some $200 million of fish, the best approach is to augment with aquaculture. And then, because catfish is best or easier to culture, which you can even do at your backyard. If you do it at your backyard and you develop the taste for the fresh and the smoked one, it means you will not go out to buy fish if you really want to use it domestically. So for me, I've developed the taste for catfish, and for its national and economic purpose, I want the Ghanaian to also develop the taste. And you know, the Nigerians have come in and they've developed a lot of recipe. Now we have Ghanaians who have developed the catfish recipe into kebabs and other products. So I'm encouraging Ghanaians, let's go to our catfish, which usually the council call it adwene. Okay, and you know the adwene has an aquarium, the adwene and the mekwine. You know, it's very good. And if you get some content to it, then we are domesticating, we are localizing, we are going into our indigenous recipes, okay, and our food. So we can cut down on this rice and others, the plantain, the fufu, the mekwine, the nkatekwine, the catfish, and then the other local dishes. And this is the only way that we can make Ghana great, this post-COVID time that has become a bit global financial challenges brought to bear to the entire world.
So far, did there two, Adwene one? That's what the Electoral Commission's tally is at now. Prof, do you have a vote?
Yes, but for something different.
Okay.
And I'm coming from the academic background, so I would like to talk about a fish called tioko. Tioko is.
I have a story about tioko. If you're in Ghana,
yes, I'm a fanti, but people think yes. So yeah, tioko.
It's a short name, isn't it?
It's a short name, not the long name.
That is the long name is not TV.
It's not TV compatible. So tioko is in the family of red fishes. Ghanaians like red fish, and the family called sea bream. And the sea bream, all of them are red, but tioko alone is white with some green yellow patches, and it's very sweet. And I recommend it for people to, cook it for their families and friends. And the scientific name too is very romantic. It's called boops boops.
There's a lot to love about tioko, and now I'm hearing the I understand why the Ghanaians call it what they call it.
Yes, it's very sweet.
So if you're not a Ghan, ask any girlfriend of yours what tioko's full name is.
Yes.
That's fish in the sea bream family. I think the grouper is a great fish.
Yes,
it's
a great fish.
I think, your grouper.
Yes.
If the fisherman doesn't eat it, I don't know why I should. But you see, all these conversations is for us to appreciate what we have in our waters. And it brings to mind why we should be concerned if the stocks are depleting. So it's not enough to enjoy the fish and to have it in abundance. It also matters that we are able to sustain it and be sure that we get it the next time we go to the fish market. And that's what this close fishing season is all about.
Yes.
It did not start out too great because there were some hitches with the farming, the fishing communities agitating that the number of weeks that this ban was in place would be detrimental to their livelihoods. But we've come a long way from then. Tell us what that journey has been like, Honorable Moses.
Well, it started when we promulgated the act that is governing the fishery industry. That is Act 625, promulgated in 2002. Section 84 had it that close season should be one of the management measures that we should adopt when we face the challenges of the depleting stock, the marine space. So that is where it started from. And the moment you put in your laws, it means that the laws are made to at least solve some issues or solve some challenges and looking at the future as well. So as of 2002, this dwindling effect has demonstrated. In fact, even the round sardinella, the data shows that as of 2016, it was going to be extinct by 2020. The round sardinella. So that is when the journey started, that we've really anticipated looking at the dwindling stock. We can count your maize. We can count the fish and the species in the marine space. So the indicators are then shown that if we are not careful, the life in the sea will get extinct. And life in the sea is fish and the living things in the sea. So we did that and planted it in the act. and we were to implement. And to implement, you need the stakeholders. You need their buy-in. You need to engage them. The engagement has started then, but the understanding was a bit difficult. But let me tell you something. This close season is inherited. Our forefathers were doing it. That camp Tuesdays were excluded from fishing expeditions. There were times that even our forefathers, when they saw there's so much bumper harvest, that glut is setting in, they closed the sea for some time to allow the catch to be sold and to be consumed. I'm told even at the estuaries and the lagoon, the Wulumo will come and close the sea. And it is the Wulumo who will come and cast the first net. And depending on the size of the fish that he will catch and the numbers, he will open it or still say that it is still closed. So it is nothing new. It is something our forefathers were doing. They even added tradition to it. They will kill a cow and put it in the sea. The fish will go and eat the cow, and then during that close season, they eat the cow so they can what? Grab it and spawn. And then they multiply themselves in numbers, matured, then they can be caught. So it isn't anything new. Just that when the dwindling numbers came and where fishers were using illegal means of catching fish, we had climate change, we have pollution of the marine, overcapacitation, we have open access, and therefore the canoe numbers increased astronomically. So there was so much pressure, and the fish were dwindling. So now, close season became one of the management measures as stipulated by law, Section 84 of Act 625, that we were to implement the close season. So we had no option than to get the buy-in of the fisher folks. Lo and behold, 2019, an attempt was made. 2020, the close season did not allow us. 2021, we called a major meeting with the fisher folks. And excuse me, fishing is science, technology, fishing is governance, fishing is practical experience. And the practical experience are fisher folks who fishing have been bequeathed to them as their source of their livelihood. And that is where you engage them. And then because July, August, September is one of our major upwelling season. Upwelling means that there's some underground current that comes up because of the surface temperature differentials, especially when it is between 24.5 to 25.5. There is an upwelling that happens. That is a current that blows from the bottom of the sea upwards. And it blows from the bottom of the sea coming with rich nutrients. The plants, the smaller plants in there are being consumed by some smaller insects, and they become food source for the fish, the ecosystem that God created. So any minute thing in the sea is very important because of the ecosystem. So this upwelling brings those nutrients, and then it brings biological activity. And that is where the fish gravid and spawn. The purpose of the July, August, September, which is the major upwelling, the minor one is end of December to the next year, February. We are concentrating on the major upwelling, which also, with the practical experience, matches with what our forefathers and our fisher folks are saying. Because that is when the fish gravid and spawn. And the key purpose of the close season as one of the management measures is to allow the fish to reproduce itself before it is caught. Because if you catch the fish before it gravid, what you are doing is that you are effectively increasing the dwindling numbers.
That makes sense. But
you
then
get it.
Let's get Prof to help us understand this. why not make it off season for everybody? Why do we need to have conversations around artisanal and semi-industrial and all this trolling and whatnot? What difference does it make? And if there's no fishing, shouldn't it be no fishing for everybody? Why the distinctions?
Okay, thank you very much. The distinction is because they all don't have the same capacity. The industrial vessels are huge. They have huge nets that can adversely impact the fish industry more than the artisanal. The artisanal have small scale, small boats, small power, and all that. So what we are doing is that we are closing for 1 month for the artisanal, who are offering subsistence and a little commercial, whilst the industrial, we are closing for 2 months. So invariably, we are closing both sectors, and they are overlapping. So you have the tuners who have done theirs because they are being controlled internationally. They've done theirs January to March, because that is the whole world closing. Then we have the semi-industrial with the artisanal going off for 1 month in July. Then the trawlers or the industrial trawlers also going off July, August. So there is an overlap there. You see, so 2 months. And that is for so that for easy compliance. For easy compliance. So the tuners are doing in January to March, and because international laws compel them to. Our act also tells us to, like, as has been mentioned by the Honorable, also tells us to close the season. So we are focusing on the local ones, July and August. And as has been explained, it is that period that there is the upwelling that brings nutrients from the bottom to the top. And during that period, fishes are able to get food to eat and to grow fast. And to grow fast during that period. The other thing is that during that period, there's more food available because of the upwelling. And it is also the spawning period. The spawning period, when you catch any fish, you see that it has got eggs in them. One fish can have thousands, millions of eggs. It varies from species to species. And often people will push that side and say, hey, this part is very sweet. Egg is very nice. So during that period, imagine a pregnant fish being slaughtered. It's not good. You know, pregnant fishes are very vulnerable. So during that period, we don't need to be drilling fishing. And traditionally, as Honorable said, it's been done in the past. Also, the next thing is that the fish processors themselves tell us that during that period, because the fish is fatty, it's full of eggs, when they smoke, the fish gets broken. And then, so during that period, they don't get as much profits from the fish as possible. We are supposed to, nationally, internationally, compel to fish sustainably. So if during that period we fish, then we are destroying the resource. We are the next generation of fishes, we are consuming them now because we are consuming the eggs. So if we do that, then next year and next year, and we've been doing that continuously over the years.
How are we doing with regulating the other parts of the conversations about what harms the fish stock? How are we doing with polluting of the water bodies and plastics ending up in the sea, fishermen catching more plastic than fish? How are we dealing with the issue of using of illegal nets? And Honorable mentioned it, that sometimes people even use the wrong fishing methods.
Yes.
And wouldn't that be better if those were better implemented or those better monitored? Would we not need the closed season at all?
Okay, thank you. There are multiple sources of the problem that is affecting the resource. Multiple sources. The pollution is one, the illegal net is one, and all that. And we are working at all of them together. Closed season is just but one of the measures. It is easy to monitor. People easily are able to comply with it, and you can check. Illegal fishing or people fishing with dynamite or others, our eyes cannot be everywhere at the same time. When you come to pollution, we are collaborating with the stakeholders, the various stakeholders, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, EPA, and other things to put in measures. So we have national measures that is being put in. People will sweep the beaches and others. So there are what we call landing beach committees and all that activate their mechanisms to clean up the beach and all that. But we are all being told to, as part of attitudinal change, try not to litter. On land, everything we leave on land ends up in the sea, ends up in the rivers and in the lakes. So we should also try to containerize our plastics to avoid it going there. When the plastics go in there, the fish can swallow, can go into their gills. But the plastics, even the most dangerous, are the tiny ones that we can't see with our eyes. We have microplastics that goes onto the gills and things of the fish. Yes, and there are measures gradually to name it.
So maybe to add to what Prof said, the management measures churns out the desirable outcomes when they are implemented concurrently. When you do a standalone management measures, you won't get the intended outcomes. So you concurrently implement all of them along the line. When you implement them that way, you get the desirable outcomes. You spoke about the different fleets and why they have different periodic close seasons, and Prof has really said it all. Don't forget that the law has outlined species to the fleets. The law states that if you are an industrial trawl vessel, you are prohibited from the small pelagics.
But they do cycle.
Cycle is gone.
It's gone.
Why cycle is gone is because of one of the management measures, which has to do with the vessels themselves, and then what they use we call gears, and the gear include the net. And when you don't design the net according to the license that you have been assigned to, like a trawl vessel, an industrial trawl vessel is a bottom dwell licensed vessel by law. So you have been licensed for a targeted species, bottom dwell, the demersals. You've been licensed. So your net must designed to depict the demersals, so you can catch them bottom dwell. And so if you have a net that has a vertical opening of 40 meters, then you are not targeting demersals.
I've heard complaints from fishing communities about how the enforcement is very strict on the small boats and canoes, but then when it comes to the bigger boats and the vessels, it appears, at least in some people's minds, that they have a lot more leeway.
My sister, we are in the situation of what God got into. When God created man and Eve came and forbidded them from the fruit, and when Eve went for it and God came, Adam was asked, he said it is the woman. The woman was asked, he said it's the snake. And so God punished all of us.
So we are shifting blame, and then
the same game we are experiencing at the fisher folks. The trawlers are blaming the semi-trawlers. The semi-trawlers are blaming the canoes. The artisanal are blaming all. Meanwhile, we are all regulated by law. And we are saying that this time around, everybody will fish in accordance with law. And therefore, the trawlers, we've designed and given them the befitted approved net. The vertical opening that they were using 40 meters now, today is 10 meters. The circumference opening, which was 120 meters, today is 60 meters. The cord end that they were using 40 meters, today is 10 meters. The constraining stripes that they had holding have been taken off. Now they have selective net. From the circumference to the bottom, you have different mesh sizes that will allow the juveniles to drop off. So you can get your demersals and your percentage of bycatch, which was 15%. Today we are saying 0. they should go zero, which we know that practical is too difficult. But because of the way they behave, the troll people behave. So anybody who tells you that we are using kid gloves, we are not. Each fleet is being guided and made sure that you are fishing in accordance to your license. And we've added those strictness to the licensing regime, that if you don't comply, you don't comply.
What's the
we
conversation
will not give you license. And let me add this with all humility. Let me add this. You see, we are revising our laws as well. We're going to revise our law. What we have seen is that when the punitive action or the punitive clause is more towards fine, paying the fine, they will go look for money anywhere and come and pay. So now we are using administrative measures, which of course is that, look, multiple offender, no license for you, we've deleted your name, take your vessel away. No, your license have been denying you. You won't get license to fish. As I speak to you, 14 of the vessels have run away. They cannot match the strict and the regulation that we put in across. They've run away, and we will make sure that the law prevails.
Let's have a quick chat about alternative livelihood support.
Okay.
As the season is about to kick off in July, what's the plan for 2023?
Okay, so the outcome of 2022 close season report indicated that quite a lot of people during the close season period went into alternative jobs. So the close season allowed them to diversify their operations. Some have went into petty trading and others, and they've gotten caught up in it, and some have learned some new trade. So it is one positive side of the close season. So gradually, as we do it, people are getting other professions. So together with the GFRA project that is supported by USAID, we are trainings have been held this year and even before for people to pick up some trade during the period.
But nothing will be distributed in terms of money.
I'm going there gradually. You wanted that first, but I wanted this first. I wanted this first. So we want the jobs and others, so that they can be that food that you are giving, for just for a period. But we want to train you so that you have a lifetime job, so that there's a reduced pressure on the fish stock. So overfishing is just too many people chasing small fish, or too many people going into the water to fish. So we want to get people to be trained permanently so that they can at least move away or reduce their pressure on the fish. So all this is going to be done, and it's being done. It's already started and it's being done. Whilst going to, we are looking for partners together so that partners can help us to be able to give them some supplementary something. It's just something to supplement their livelihood. So to give them some food, some oil, and etc. So I don't want to emphasize that too much.
See, Prof has said it.
Final comment.
What we do is that before, during, and after every close season, our research department does a whole research and churn out a report. The report is validated by the major stakeholders, including academia, including CSOs, including all the fleets that we have and the associations within the sector. Then we let them know the outcomes. We let them know how gradually we replenishing the stock. They make inputs. One key thing that is come out, there's a socio-economic aspect of the research work, because we want to determine how the impact of the close season in terms of the socio-economic aspect. And one thing that has come up is that the culture of saving is beginning to develop among our fisher folks. And for me, that is a very important one. We used to say, sea never dries. Mm-hmm. You know the meaning? It means today when he goes, he gets fish. Tomorrow when he goes, he gets fish. So at a point, savings was not part really their culture. Now that culture is developing. And for me, that is another great one.
So we are good to go, 2023
So we are good to go. 2023, the report, the scientific report indicates that we should continue with the close season, alongside, as I told you, concurrently implementing all the other management measures that will restock the you know, the SDG, the UN, the SDG could not take out life under the ocean, which is 14. Why? Because if you want to really eliminate poverty, you want to eliminate hunger, you want health and well-being of the citizenry, fish is very important. And therefore, sustainably managing the fishery resources is key. Now, what we are also doing, which we've gotten some partners to support us, is to increase the fisheries resources, you know, either to the lagoons and the estuaries, where one of the resources that we're fishing from, and also the mangroves become a hiding place for even the fish to go and then gravid and spawn. Now we want to bring life back to the estuaries and the lagoons, because we need more space for them. And then the inland as well. The Volta Lake itself about 1,500 kilometers, and the other aspect that we want to do. But don't forget aquaculture as well, because that is the most viable alternative that we can also use whilst we are replenishing the stock, which is a medium to long term. Because if you look at the number of years that this overcapacitation have depleted the stock, it is not a short-term measure, it's a medium to long term. And therefore, aquaculture for us as a policy is one of the strategic area to keep expanding. We've expanded from 5,000 tons to 98,000 tons for aquaculture. So my sister and everybody here, I'm encouraging all of you to go into aquaculture. Your backyard catfish can be reared at your backyard, in your small cubicles, and everywhere. You can rear catfish, so we can domestically increase our fish production and reduce importation.
Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Moses Zenim, and Professor Francis Nunu, Board Chairman, Fisheries Commission. Thank you, gentlemen, for making the time. They've been speaking to us about the closed fishing season, which starts on July 1 this year. Different periods for different vessels. The smaller canoes and smaller boats and those who engage in small-scale fishing, which is called the artisanal, have a 1-month closed season from July 1. The industrial vessels, which are bigger and they catch bigger fish, have until September, also starting 1st July until the end of September. All are expected to comply with the directives. All are expected to explore alternative ways of making money. If you're a fishing community, if you're a fisherman yourself, if you're a fisher folk, explore alternative means of making some money during the closed fishing season. Some support will come, but a lot will depend on you. Also get into aquaculture. And let's by all means protect our environment, dispose of our waste properly, and make sure that we are using the right types of equipment for all our fishing. That way we can save all the fishes that we like from extinction. So if it's the Tioko that's your favorite, or the grouper that's your favorite, you know that once the season closes, that delicacy will be back on your table. Breakfast on GTV.